such a volatile trading environment, there are opportunities to find value. And with the second quarter drawing to a close, Islamic finance has something to celebrate. Well, industry assets have broken the $1 trillion mark this year already, a surge up from 2010's total assets of just over $800 billion. Now, Islamic bonds, known as sukuk, have seen $21 billion issued so far this year, up from $14 billion in the same period last year. These bonds pay returns on assets instead of interest. Now, joining me now for more on this growing industry is Adam Ebrahim. He is founder and chief executive officer of Oasis Group Holdings. Thank you so much and welcome to On the Move. Talk to me a little bit about the potential for Islamic finance. I know you're opening also new bureaus here in Europe. Is this just to basically, is it in retaliation to stronger investor appetite for the products?
I think there's a huge demand and an unmet supply. So demand exceeds supply by an order of magnitude. And in the UK, there's most probably a 0.5% penetration rate. And the market we estimate in the UK on wealth management to be approximately 200 billion plus.
And Adam, this is why, because actually a lot of what you offer is a little bit less risky. So you get less returns, but your money is a little bit safer. Am I getting this right?
Hopefully we can get better returns.
Oh, better returns as well.
And safety, and that's the experience that we've had. So if you look at our South African business, our first mutual fund, Islamic mutual fund, which is about $700 million, and that's returned 24% per annum.
And this is why, because you invest less in cyclical stocks?
I think the 40% of the stock market that we're not investing in are the banks and some of the other companies and some of the derivative instruments. And those are the exact ones that have had high risk and high betas. And, in downturns, those are the companies that and sectors that get destroyed quite significantly.
And so how many more offices will you open in Europe? Is there a real demand that you can quantify for me?
In the UK, as I mentioned, just over 200 billion on wealth management. So we need to address that first. And then indirectly, we supply our product through the wealth management platforms, global wealth management platforms. But we need to realize the potential in the UK first, directly. And, I think one crawls before one runs. And once we've achieved significant growth in this market and established the market in a meaningful way and got 10-20% market penetration, only then will we look at other markets directly.
And so what do you exactly do differently to the more traditional Western asset managers? I mean, we've been talking a lot about the EU summit, we've been talking a lot about the difficulties in the United States. You're analyzing the market in the same way.
Exactly the same way. It's just a couple of things. Islamic finance is about, it's ethical. You kind of taking out the sin kind of factors, that's the easy ones. But then importantly, it's based on equity and hard assets. So you have much less gearing, and you have a lot less intangible assets. So a lot less risky. So we have to do a lot more work to identify all of those issues. And as such, you actually most probably doing a lot more due diligence. And by definition, if you do a lot more due diligence, you cut out the more risky areas. In the long run, you should have better returns.
Adam, what's your take on the EU summit? Because we've been talking about it all day, and it seems that half of our guests think that actually, well, at least we have something. So they're actually quite pleased. We're seeing a short rally in some of these stocks. Others saying, look, they still haven't done enough. It's not by putting Humpty Dumpty together with Scotch tape that it makes for a viable solution.
Sure. I think we must be very careful that we don't go the Japanese route and play around the edges, and 30 years later we're still talking about the same issue. We really have to take some serious medicine and some serious pain, and things like pension fund reform, things like welfare reform needs to get underway in a very material way very soon, and once that happens, we'll be on the road to recovery.
All right, Adam, I just want to break it off there because we also have some breaking news from MF Global. Now, the administrators are saying that it may return some $3.2 billion to UK clients and creditors. Adam, we've also been talking a lot about Barclays, a lot of the UK banks here, of course, under close investigation. What's your take on the financial sector? Is this just going to get bigger and bigger and more inconvenient for a lot of these UK banks, but also global banks?
I think when you've socialized losses and privatized profits, there's always going to be that dynamic. That's what's happening at the moment. Banks are under a lot more scrutiny. And I think unless we start getting back into normal economics and let shareholders take the pain if they make losses, and then we will get recover quite quickly. But I think you cannot have a socialist loss and a capitalist profit. That doesn't work.
All right, Adam, thanks so much for your time. Adam Ebrahim, their founder and Chief Executive Officer of Oasis Group Holdings.